Up next, our call-in guest is Mozaffar Partoma, who's president of the Kurdish American Fraternity. He joins us to talk about the history, culture, and minority status of Kurds in Iraq.
Dr. Mozaffar Partoma, the world has been trying to get some sense of the character of Saddam Hussein since his invasion in Kuwait. You have studied him for a long time, observed him for a long time. What can you tell us of the man's character?
In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, I seek refuge in the temptation of the shaitan and the soul. And I pray to him that I will be well understood. We, the Kurds, have studied Saddam, as you said, for almost 30 years. And we have had a lot of hardship with this man. And our culture and our heritage has been at jeopardy as a result of the actions of Saddam Hussein. The Kurdish culture was flourishing in the north of Iraq before Saddam Hussein took rule in Iraq. However, as a result of his actions and his brutality and his savage behavior, this culture is at a threat. And I will give you figures through this interview that will shock you that what has happened and what he has done to the Kurdish people.
Good evening from Washington. We continue our coverage here on C-SPAN of the Persian Gulf by trying to understand the question from many different sides. Our guest on our call-in program in our studios here in Washington is Dr. Mozaffar Partoma. He is president of the Kurdish American Fraternity and former leader of the PIK, which is a political party.
Yes.
We are going to be talking with him for the next 40 minutes or so, and we invite your questions, as always, here on C-SPAN on our topic, and our telephone numbers will be on the bottom of the screen as your questions or your comments come to mind. First of all, if people are not familiar with the Kurds, as a people, who are they?
Yes, who are the Kurds? This is a very good question. The Kurds are, from one account, probably the most ancient people surviving on the face of the earth. Ever since the Ark of Noah landed on our land, which is on one of the peaks of Kurdistan, these people have regenerated, and from them, all the people of the earth, as we know through the scriptures, have regenerated themselves. So the Kurds can be said that they are the most ancient people existing on the face of the earth.
The Kurds are not Arabs.
The Kurds are not Arabs, definitely. Arabs originated from the Kurds. Hebrews originated from the Kurds. All the people of the world originated from the Kurds, but the Kurds themselves have preserved their culture and they have preserved their identity so far.
In the face of some lack of interest in that culture being preserved from some of the countries in which the Kurds now live.
Yes, that's true. In the face of many hardships, in the face of decades and millennia of hardship, actually. Throughout the history, the Kurds have not taken the route like other ancient peoples to become nation builders and sort of expansionists. They have maintained themselves and their cultures in the region that historically is called Kurdistan.
There are about how many Kurds alive today?
Currently, we estimate that the number of Kurds cannot be less than 25 million, and it cannot be more than 40 million. It is somewhere between 25 and 40 million. And of course, this span is because of lack of accurate data, lack of cooperation from the governments that are operating and administering their sections of Kurdistan to give us accurate data to get to the exact figure. But the figure lies somewhere between 25 and 40 million.
In the 4 countries in the Middle East where the largest...
5 countries.
Where the largest Kurdish population are what?
Yes, the 5 countries. The largest population of Kurds is located in the east of Turkey. Then the second largest is in the west and northwest of Iran. Then is the north of Iraq. Then it is Syria. All the north side of Syria, connecting parts with Turkey, is Kurdistan. And then there is a pocket of Kurds in Armenia, Soviet Armenia, and that is the one that most people forget about, and that is probably one of the most suffering Kurds in the hands of the communism. And now they are just beginning to come out and talk to us of their suffering and of the hardship that they have had in the hand of communism.
For the purpose of this discussion, of course, we're going to be focusing in on the Kurdish population in Iraq and also Iran. The percentage of population of Iraq which are Kurds is about 25% of the total population?
More than 25%, yes, definitely more than 25%, probably approaching 30%.
Now, as people are reading news reports these days, including this recent cover story in Time magazine about Saddam Hussein, there are pictures of your people, very sad pictures as a matter of fact,
yes,
from an incident back in 1988 involving use of chemical warfare.
Exactly.
Could you please explain the history of that?
Exactly. This is one of the points that I definitely would like to focus on, and that is that Saddam Hussein is not a boy that came up only yesterday. Saddam Hussein is the good boy that the United States was supporting in 1980 through 88, 89, and supporting him with all kind of weaponry and all kind of technology and all kind of media representation, etc. And this is the same person that was the good guy yesterday, and now he has become the bad guy. In 1988, when Saddam Hussein finally used the massive chemical warfare against the Kurds, we tried our best to bring it to the attention of the world population. But because of the blockage that the media had put in front of us, and because of the support that the world powers were giving to Saddam, we were not able to reach the masses. We were not able to reach the people. Even when the victims of this chemical warfare were brought by support of Iran to New York in order to cure some of them, or in order to show some of them to public. I personally went and interviewed some of those, and the videotape that we generated from that was not even broadcasted. These are some of the things that we really want to bring up. And of course, the pictures now that come out, and we still would like people to see it, these pictures show the brutality of the man. The brutality of this person, that now you are saying that he has taken the foreigners hostage in his country. That is the least that he is capable of doing. He has tortured children. He has tortured infant children.
The question...
preventing them from having milk so that their parents would admit to certain information that he wanted to extract from them.
Has the Iraqi government ever acknowledged the use of chemical weapons?
Yes, they formally acknowledged, yes.
They have formally acknowledged
Yes.
it. And if the world population, the Western world, is ignoring, has been ignoring the story, for what reason?
Well, the reasons are not known to us. The reasons are underlying the power struggle that the world powers are, the game that the world power is waging in our regions. These games, we people, the people in the street, do not approve of these games. They do not consider the call of Saudi king to bring the United States troops in, because that call was not debated in any of the parliaments. I want to bring this to the attention of the world. Which parliament discussed and voted on calling the Americans in? This is very important, because if you are trying to help people, then you should seek the vote of the people. If you are trying to help a certain king or a certain president, such as in the case of Saddam that you supported 2 years, 10 years ago, he may turn bad. Okay? If you are trying to support only one person in power, he may turn sour on you yourself, just like Saddam did. So I am saying that we do not know which parliament voted on the call of the United States into. And these are all games played in our region. And we do not approve of it, and we do not advise it, and we hope that the United States does not get any further deeper involved. We hope that some certain formula can be worked out so that Saddam, the criminal, Saddam, the terrible, Saddam, the user of everything that is unlawful, would be removed, and the world would be rid of him.
Let me understand that you're not supporting the U.S. move into the region, and yet you hope that Saddam Hussein will be out of power.
Exactly.
If the U.S. move results in the removal of, and I'll say U.S. and the world move in that region, results in the removal, ultimately, of Saddam Hussein, is it a good thing, even if you don't approve of the way it happened?
I do not approve of the way it happened. U.S. could have brought pressure through the United Nations, as it did, and we support of that part. I personally support, my organization support, the people that I have talked to support the move that were done through the proper channels, that is the United Nations. But to become the steward of carrying out this wish of the United Nations is the part that we do not approve. And it means that the interest of the United States is not only safeguarding the people, but it is some economic interest. And this economic interest is what would eventually give way to hardship for both sides, for us, the people of the region, and for the United States itself. The boys of the United States now are supposed to be there, and they are there, and they are the ones who are taking the punch eventually.
We have a caller on the line. I have to get these questions very briefly to you.
Sure.
And that is the number of people you believe that of Kurdish people who were actually killed during the 88th use of chemical weapons was about how many?
In the first day of the Halabja bombing, Halabja is just like it has been said, a medium-sized town in Iraq. Halabja is a medium-sized town in Iraq. The first day of the use of the chemicals, which was March 17, 1988, 5,000 people were reported killed right away, like flies. I'm sorry to make that analogy, but this is the way Saddam Hussein has treated us. Within 2 weeks of the incident, twice as many were reported killed. Then, of course, this is not the only one. After the war with Iran was finished, then Saddam Hussein was scared that the United Nations envoy would go there and discover that he has a lot of chemical arsenal. He dumped all of it on the Kurds. And by this means, then he terrified a lot of people. 200,000, approximately 200,000 fled Iraq. Some of them went to Turkey, some of them later on went to Iran. Those who are in Turkey now are under great hardship because they are treated as criminals, as prisoners. They are not allowed to be visited by people. So these are the hardships that all have originated from Saddam Hussein against the Kurdish people.
My last question for you. Is there today an active Kurdish resistance movement within Iraq?
The Kurdish resistance movement have always existed within Iraq. There are fronts under the leadership of Barzani. There are fronts under the leadership of Talabani. There are Muslim fronts under the leadership of Sheikh Osman bin Abdul Aziz. These are all of them operating inside Iraq, but some of the leadership themselves are outside the country of Iraq.
We are going to take calls for you, Doctor. First question comes from Columbus, Ohio. Thanks for waiting. You're on the air.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Muzaffar.
Good evening.
Actually, I have one comment. You said in the beginning of the show that the problems you had with the Kurdish people in Iraq started when President Saddam Hussein came in power.
Yes.
As far as I know, that the problem with the Kurdish people existed in Iraq even before Saddam Hussein was in power, even when Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr was there. And isn't it right that the Kurdish people have some other territorial claims, such as in Iran, in Syria, and even in Soviet Union? My last part of the question is about the Halabja area. Don't you think that this thing has not been proven that the chemical weapons were being used against the Kurdish people by the Iraqis, and there have been some suspect or suspicion that's been used by the Iranians? That's all, actually. Thank you.
Thank you for the call.
Thank you. First of all, I did not mean to say that Saddam Hussein was the originator of the problems of the Kurds. I meant to say that Saddam's party, which is the Arab Ba'ath Party, that is the resurrection of Arabs before Islam, that is the party that has damaged the Kurdish culture the most, both in Syria and in Iraq. And Saddam, being part of that party and being a strong man in that party, has done the lion's share of that damage. And I want to say that before this party took over in Iraq, in Iraq, the Kurds were most flourishing, cultural-wise. I'm not saying politically. Politically, we have been divided among those 5 countries. But culturally speaking, the Kurds have the best organization in north of Iraq. They had a radio station, broadcasting station, which broadcasted Kurdish culture and literature and stories and plays and so on and so forth. This is part of the culture that gradually, as Saddam Hussein came into the power and put the grip on the people, gradually diminished. These rights diminished from the Kurds. Second, or the third rather, we had a Kurdish academy, which was coining new words and writing and publishing and so on in north of Iraq. And now we do not have any of these. And these all came as Saddam Hussein established a strong grip on the people.
Second question was on the veracity of Iraq being the source of chemical weapons.
And, second question, I think, dealt with our national aspiration. The Kurds definitely have national aspiration. There is no doubt that when you see a country like Bahrain with less than 1 million people having their own government, their own representative in the United Nations, their own representatives in world capitals, of course the Kurds, who are 25 million people or more, would definitely have some aspiration that they would eventually establish a government for themselves. But this does not mean that we are against Iran or against Iraq or against Turkey or against those countries. We could be friends with them and we could be a country for our own. There is nothing wrong with that.
And the third question?
The third question regarding the suspicion that Iran also used. If Iran did not use it particularly against identified elements such as the Kurds, but Iraq did. Iran, if used it, I do not know, I do not have the knowledge, but if Iran used it, obviously used it in the warfare, and it was a eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. And this is valid both according to the laws of Islam and according to the laws of the civilized world.
We have just 20 minutes left. Let's go to Montreal next.
Yes. Hello?
You're on the air.
Yes, please.
Yes. This is regarding Israel. And I'd like to know what first question is your feelings towards Israel. My second, and this is really a statement, if it wasn't for Israel bombing that nuclear power plant 8 years ago or 7 years ago where the whole world condemned poor little Israel. At this point in time, we'd be having a nuclear war on our hands rather than a chemical war on our hands.
Regarding Israel, my friend, I want to say that Israel, among other countries of the world, did not speak a word or raise a finger when 5,000 people were killed in one incident in Halabja. Israel, just like any other country, the Arabs, non-Arabs, the countries of the world, kept silent, and we did not expect this to happen. We did not expect that people who had suffered themselves in the hand of a tyrant would keep quiet in the face of another tyrant. This is my feeling regarding Israel. Otherwise, I have no other specific feeling. The Israeli issue has been dealt with in United Nations, and they are dealing with it fairly well. And so I want their support for the Kurdish cause, not in the sense that I want to sell my cause to them, but this is a human cause. When you do not take care of it in one incident, then you will be sorry about it in another incident.
Chicago, you're next. Go ahead.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yeah, yesterday in your place there was Mashhadi, I think he was the ambassador of Iraq. He said that there was no evidence. In fact, he said that there was a French doctor and Turkish doctor had proof that there is no use of chemical weapons. That's the first question. And the second question, they're always in the media, even President Bush says that the Iraqi, Saddam Hussein used chemical weapons against his people. I thought always that the Kurds are Aryan, they're not even Semitic. How would they call them their people? So would you comment on that? The last question, does your group have any publication, and can you tell us about it, please?
Yes, thank you very much for the questions. First of all, regarding the no use of chemical weapons, this is new because their own representatives, Tariq Aziz, have admitted that chemical was used. Besides that, of course, we do not just rely on liars. We rely on the facts that were taken out from the patients who were brought into New York. The hospitals and the doctors who examined those patients testified without any shadow of doubt that the chemical were used in case of those patients, and the chemical were the cause of their sufferings. And I personally visited those patients, and I found out that it was, as I had read in the literature regarding the World War II and the use of chemicals, it matched word for word or point for point that this was chemical. So whether Mr. Ambassador says or not, that is beside the point. They have said many things and they have not followed it. So we cannot really rely on the word of the liars. Number two, regarding the Aryans and so on. So these people, Saddam Hussein's basic pretext of occupying Kuwait, as we understand it, is that Kuwait was administered by province of Basra before Ottoman Empire broke out. So therefore, he says that Kuwait is part of Basra. And Basra being part of his country, he has the pretext in order to occupy Kuwait. Based on the same pretext, Kurdistan was never part of Iraq. Iraq did not exist at all. So therefore, he has no claim on Kurdistan, because it was by the British that this country called Iraq was set up. So therefore, if we go back to the Ottoman Empire, and just before the breakage of Ottoman Empire, Iraq has no claim on Kurdistan, and therefore they should relinquish that part which is called Kurdistan, and they should not continue to desecrate the region. They should not continue to wipe out the villages. He has raised 4,000 villages of Kurdistan. He has not only leveled it to ground, but he has also shut with cement the water springs in that region so that nobody would dwell in it. Even the smaller townships have been evacuated by the government of Iraq. What kind of friendship is this? If they consider Kurds as part of the Arabs, why do they treat them like this?
Next question, Santa Ana, California.
Yeah, Muzaffar, Dr. Muzaffar.
Yes.
What I understood, it's Kurdistan. It's part of Russia. Is that right?
You understand Kurdistan as part of Russia?
Part of Russia.
No, sir. Kurdistan is administered by 5 countries. Russia is only one. And Russia administers the smallest section of Kurdistan. The biggest section of Kurdistan is administered by Turkey.
Came to Kurdistan and they went to Iraq, and the Iraqi gave him a citizenship, right?
The Iraqi, say that again, please.
The Iraqi, they give the Kurdistani a citizenship, and they treat him as an Arab, right?
Well, go ahead and tell me what you want to get.
Oh, you see, I'm trying to understand where he's from, because the way the media, they're saying it's their own people, and you're saying you're not an Arab, you're from Kurdistan, but you live in Iraq.
Okay.
And I don't understand where you're from.
All right, let's go back
Kurdistan,
to this map.
Please go to this map. Kurdistan is a region that roughly connects the tip of Mediterranean to the tip of the Black Sea and to the tip of the Persian Gulf. This triangle is Kurdistan. Historically, this region has been called Kurdistan, and the people who dwell there, majority of them, are what we call Kurds. And the Kurds, as I said earlier, are the direct descendant of Prophet Nuh and the people that he carried in the ark. And so this triangle has been recorded in the literature as the Fertile Crescent. But now, due to the misadministration of Syria and Iraq and Turkey, this region has become actually, originally it was the breadbasket of the region. Now it has become completely ruined. Completely ruined.
Within Iraq, is there any kind of People's Assembly?
Within Iraq itself?
Yes.
Some puppet shows.
So it has no power?
Yes, that has no
Are there
power.
any seats in that assembly for Kurdish people?
There has been, from time to time, they put in a pawn in there, which does not represent the Kurdish masses. We do not vote for that person. The people in Iraq do not vote for that person. Just by the command of the president, whoever it is, especially Saddam Hussein, somebody is put in there in order to show that, yes, there is a representative. But that is not a real, genuine representative of Kurdish people.
Champaign, Illinois. You're on the air.
Yes, please. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I wish I can sit with you longer and talk more about this problem. I'm from that area.
Yes.
And I think everybody there should be blamed for this situation, and including the Kurds themselves, because all the time, as I remember, you cooperate with this regime or that regime to take advantage against another regime. And this is one point. Of course, we like the Kurds a lot because they are really a good, sincere Muslim. The another point is about Halabja. In Halabja, when we saw the picture and we know that the Iranian was there, we didn't see any soldier or any fighter among the dead. What do you think? Where are they? As we informed that the Iranian withdraws before the Iraqi attack that city, and this is another crime we can add it to the Iranian regime at that time. They didn't allow the civilian to leave the city when they knew that city will be attacked by the Iraqi forces.
Thank you for the call.
Thank you very much, sir, brother. First of all, in answer to your first question, I must say Arabic proverb, and I'm sure that you will understand it better than anyone else. The Arabic proverb says, "Al-ghariqu yatashabbatu bikulli hashish," meaning that the person who is drowning, he will try to hold on to even the smallest twig. And that explains why the Kurds, whose culture is drowning, whose culture is being extinct, they are being extinct, they try to hold on to anything that comes up, including the governments that have initiated in that area. Every government that has come has had some support from the Kurds. I can testify to this, that every government that has been installed in that region, the four especially, not the Russians. The Russians have a separate account. But every government that has been installed in that four countries, Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey, have had some support, some degree of support from the Kurds. But eventually, after they hold on to the grip, they come to a grip to the nation, they will kick out, and they will not abide by the promises that they make to the Kurds. And this has been throughout. This is first question. Second question is that you did not see soldiers in the massacre of Halabja. This is unfortunate because the massacre of Halabja, first of all, was brought to our attention by the Revolutionary Guards of Iran. Even though I am aggrieved and I do not want to support any side, but this is a fact that the Revolutionary Guards of Iran, if they had not brought this to the attention of the people and they had not taken those pictures, we would not have known about it. We would not have known about the incident because the grip of Saddam on the country is so bad that nothing comes out. It's worse than the Iron Curtain. Nothing comes out.
Before we go to the next call, for people who don't speak your language, would you explain this greeting that people are using with you when they call?
When they call, they say Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you. This is the greeting of Muslim to anybody, to a Muslim, to any audience.
I'm going to move on to another question, this time from San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Hello.
You're on the air, sir.
Susan, yes, my question is, are there any Baha'is among the Kurdish people? The Baha'i is a religion that was born about the 18th century, and they're very they're Muslims, but they're very peace loving. And I was wondering from your guest if he would know, are there any? Because in the Iran war, the Khomeini killed a lot of the people of the Baha'i religion.
Thank you for the call.
Thank you for the call, sir. Majority of the Kurdish people are Muslims of Sunni sect. And of course, among the Kurds, there are variety of other religions. People have remained, some small packets of people have remained on their ancient pre-Islamic religions. Some people have accepted Christianity, some people have accepted Baha'ism. Those are very small minority among the Kurdish population, if they exist at all. This gentleman is interested in the fate of the Baha'is, but majority of the Kurds are Muslims of the Sunni sect.
Euless, Texas, you're on the air.
Yes. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So, kind of question I'd like to ask you about it. I'm sorry to keep saying Islam, but you're a Muslim person.
Yes.
And what you said on the TV right now, that you are accusing of Iraq of doing the bomb on the Kurdish people, which is they are even if they're not Arab, but they're our brothers. Okay, are you sure 100% on the TV right now that they did it? And if you said so, I would believe you, because I'm really confused to believe whether the Iranian did it or the Iraqi did it. And that should be very clear to the American people, knows the truth, that who really did that. That's the first question. Second question, I'm sorry, is if the war started between the United Nations and Iraqi, where and Kurdish people has to stand up, who will stand up by? Thank you so much.
I did not understand. I did not understand your second question.
I have it. The first one is 100% certain which side.
Yes, I am 100% certain that it was Iraqis by the command of Saddam Hussein who bombed Halabja and who bombed Bahdinan and who massacred the people of Halabja and sent out in fear of life all the people of northern Iraq. And if there is any grain of doubt in the mind of the questioner that the incident in Halabja was not clearly attributable to the actions of Iraq, definitely the other part, which was even worse than the Halabja incident, is attributable to the actions of the government of Iraq.
The second question was, which side will the Kurds in Iraq choose if a war breaks out now?
If the war breaks out right now? Mm-hmm. If the war breaks out right now, we, the Kurds, and I advise everyone else to do the same, we want to take the side of the people. If the general people in the area vote that they should support themselves and solve their own problems, we will go with them. If they vote that they should go and ask the United Nations to come and mediate and to do things for them, then we will go with them. And we think that the best action is to support the people wherever we are, whether in the United States, whether in the Middle East, whether in east of the world or west of the world. Always we want to remain with the people, because when you remain with the people and the variety of opinion comes up and you take your activities by mutual consultation and democratic process, then things come up in a civilized way. But if it is the vote of one person or the call of one king or one president, then we do not take that. So our side is clear. Our side is with the people. If the people are going to take and go help one side, we will take that one side.
San Francisco.
Well, yeah, I just actually I wanted to talk to Mr. Andrew before, but anyhow, he just recognized Israel as a state, and he wanted the help of Israel. But what about the Palestinians? This is also to Mr. Bush and to all Americans, because every time the ambassador of Iraq says, let's look into that problem, they say don't link it. Just a minute ago, he said Bahrain is a small country, Kuwait is a small country, he wants an independent state. I just want to make it clear that solve the Palestinian case, and I'm sure that the Muslim, the Arabian Muslim region will be unified to help such small accidents like what happened in Quds. I just want to just define, if you define Palestinians, I just want to know what do you think of the Palestinian as a nation?
All right, thank you.
Now that you have brought up the name of Mr. Bush, I have one comment to make, and then I will get to your question. Today, Mr. Bush, the president that I love very much, and I respect his many of his actions, said that it is not Saddam against United States. He said it is not Iraq against United States, it is Iraq against the whole world. I want to correct him in that. I think it is Saddam against the whole world, because Iraqi people are not behind him. We, the Kurds in Iraq, those Kurds in Iraq, the Kurds who have sentiments with Iraq, are not with Saddam Hussein at all. They do not support him. Majority of the Kurds do not support him. Majority of the Shias in Iraq do not support him. Many of the Arabs in Iraq, the Sunnis, do not support him. The Failis do not support him. Who is this guy? This guy is by himself. So the correction of that statement is that it is Saddam Hussein against the entire world. That's number one. Number two is that regarding the Palestinian issue, we share the sentiments and the agonies of the Palestinian people. We Kurds and Palestinians have a lot in common. We are both occupied, we are both usurped, stronger powers have administered our region, and they are not taking our aspirations into account. And so this is a very common thing between us. This is my feeling regarding the Palestinian people. And this probably mostly comes from the fact that I am a Muslim, and they are a Muslim also. And besides that, it comes from the fact that we are all human beings, and whenever there is injustice done, we have to speak out against injustice. And I think injustice has been done both against the Palestinians and against the Kurds.
We're rapidly running out of time. Garfield, New Jersey, you're on the air.
Yeah, I have a question for this guy.
Okay, go ahead.
When the war broke out in Lebanon, and the Kurds in Lebanon, they have citizens, and it's hard there to get citizens.
Yes.
And they took side with the Muslim, and was the Christian girl who gave them the citizen. And they used to catch people on the checkpoint and make cross on their bodies. How you want me to feel bad for your people, and you killed a lot of my people there?
I do not kill anybody. I personally have not killed in my life any person, so I do not know how to answer your question. I don't think it was the Christians who gave citizenship. The country of Lebanon is run by a coalition of Muslims as well as Christians, and it was one of the prototype governments that had been set up artificially in order to show that yes, Muslims and Christians can coexist, but they themselves even did not support that, and they break it apart. I do not know who gave citizenship to the Kurds. Whoever gave citizenship to the Kurds, I thank them for that. And whoever had hostility against the Kurds, I say that may Allah exact punishment from them.
We have just a minute and a half. We will not be able to take any more calls. I want to close out the program by telling you a little bit more about our guest. Dr. Partoma is president of the Kurdish American Fraternity. By profession, he is a physicist in Long Island area in New York State, and has a PhD from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Home for you is originally Iran.
Yes.
Correct? You are currently a U.S. citizen or hope to be?
I have applied for U.S. citizenship, and my papers will be discussed in October this year, and I hope that I will become naturalized.
How large is the Kurdish population in this country, the U.S.?
In this country, probably 15,000 or more. Most of them have come as refugees. Some of us came as students and settled here. Most of this population are as refugees, and we are hoping that the refugees population will increase soon.
We have about a half a minute. I want you to, if you would, you've told us how you'd like to see things turn out based on your knowledge again of the region. What is your speculation as to how this situation will be resolved?
How I like the events to take shape is that just like this country went after Noriega, Manuel Noriega, who had done something wrong against the world population. I prefer to see that this country, its machinery, and the United Nations will take part in capturing and apprehending Saddam Hussein, because he has done a lot of things against world population.
We have to let it go at that. We're out of time. Dr. Partoma, thank you very much for being with us. Dr. Partoma, again, is representative of the Kurdish people here in the United States, and I want to thank him for being with us to talk with you this evening.
Thank you.
For more information, you may write to our call-in guest in care of Partia Islamia Kurdistani. The address is Post Office Box 15020, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48106. Up next, following a break for schedule information, our coverage of events in the Persian Gulf continues as we bring you today's presidential news briefing.
You're watching the Cable Satellite Public Affairs Network, C-SPAN, open to the public.
C-SPAN offers a unique perspective on the Persian Gulf. With C-SPAN's unedited style, you get an inside look at the policies behind the breaking events. You see the press conferences, speeches, and public policy addresses without any commentary. And C-SPAN offers you a chance to speak with the newsmakers involved with the story. For an inside look at events in the Persian Gulf, stay with C-SPAN, the Cable Satellite Public Affairs Network.
Watch Election 90 this campaign season for an inside look at the 1990 elections. This week we'll cover the Illinois gubernatorial race. You'll hear from the State Attorney General Neil Hartigan, a Democrat, and Republican Secretary of State Jim Edgar. You'll see both candidates on the campaign trail and in one-on-one interviews. Tune in Sundays at 12:30 p.m., 9:30 p.m., and 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time. With C-SPAN, Election 90 is open to the public.
You're watching C-SPAN, America's network.